Good morning, everyone.
All right, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the meeting. That's it. We do a roll call. We don't do the Pledge of Allegiance anymore. We never did, huh?
Never did.
Okay,
the chairman.
roll call.
Commissioner Bolin,
Here.
Commissioner Johnson,
Oh, this one's not working.
Here.
Commissioner Kimmelshoe,
Here.
Chair Connolly,
Here.
Commissioner McGreehan,
Here,
Commissioner Sharman,
Here.
alternate Commissioner Betts,
Here.
alternate Commissioner Bradley,
Here.
alternate Commissioner Lucero, alternate Commissioner Johnson.
Okay. I'm gonna skip right down to consideration and selection of a regular and alternate public member. That's 4.2. We have two applicants. It was in our agenda. Any questions or comments by the board?
I'm going to step down because I am one of the candidates for that position.
You should probably leave the state.
I like that.
Is there any electronic public comment on this matter?
No.
Would anybody from the public like to speak on this? I'll entertain a motion.
Are either the applicants here, obviously Steve's here, right? Is Mr. Rust here?
Yeah. He wants to be the alternate. He wants to be the guy.
Okay, so I would move to approve Mr. Betts as our regular member and Mr. Rust as our alternate.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, wait,
I
we
gotta
gotta do
call
a
roll
roll
call under Brown Act. Yeah. Sorry, Al, we gotta do a roll call.
Right, I'm waiting.
Commissioner Bolin,
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Kimmelshoe,
Yes.
Chair Connolly,
Aye.
Commissioner McGreehan,
Aye.
Commissioner Sharman,
Yes.
It's unanimous. All right. Welcome aboard. You can come back. How was Nevada anyway? I want to know. Okay, next up is approval of the minutes of June. Well, our consent agenda. What's the approval of the minutes of June 2nd, 2022, adoption of renewing resolution in support of AB 361, which means you can zoom in. Any questions or comments by board members? Any electronic comment?
No.
Anyone from the public like to speak on this matter? I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move we approve both items.
Okay, Al Green got the motion. Who got the second over there?
I'll second.
Okay, you got it, clerk? All those
Got
in
it.
favor say aye.
I
Any
Aye.
opposed?
Do you need a roll call?
Oh, God. Al, you guys are messing me up, man. My
I'm not messing you up. I'm just keeping you on your toes, Bill.
Commissioner Bolin,
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Kimmelshoe,
Yes.
Chair Connolly,
Aye.
Commissioner McGreehan,
Aye.
Commissioner Sharman.
Yes.
Passes unanimously. Okay.
didn't hear my name.
Commissioner Betts, sorry.
Yes.
See how quick they forget you're here. All right, so next up is a notice public hearing. It's this is a great one. South Feather Water and Power Palermo Community Annexation.
All right, good morning, commissioners. So this is a proposal to annex portions of the unincorporated community of Palermo consisting of approximately 550 parcels to the South Feather Water and Power Agency. The annexation would facilitate implementation of the Palermo Clean Water Consolidation Project, which is a grant-funded project between the County of Butte and South Feather to install the necessary infrastructure to provide clean, safe drinking water to the residents of Palermo who depend on contaminated wells for their drinking water. The territory consists of the core of the community of Palermo, extending from Messina Avenue to South Villa Avenue and Railroad Avenue to Upper Palermo Road. So parcels located within the bounds of the annexation territory would be provided with no-cost water line installation and septic tank abatement. So the proposal substantially conforms to LAFCo policy and is supported by the County of Butte General Plan. So staff recommends that the commission accept option 1 of your staff report, adopting the negative declaration and mitigation monitoring program, waive protest proceedings, and adopt resolution 01-2223, making determinations approving the project. And I can answer any questions that you may
Do you
have.
have a map we could put on the screen?
I do not. I'm sorry.
Okay. Any questions or comments by the board?
Okay, just explain to me how this works. Okay, this is a notice of a public hearing. Can we take action to approve this today? That's what we're asking us to do?
Yes, so your
To
action
waive all public hearings, to waive everything.
To waive,
requirements just to do it.
to waive any protest proceedings that would precede your approval of the annexation today.
Okay,
So
that's the negative declaration. Is that right?
today you would be adopting the negative declaration and approving annexation of Palermo into South Feather. So
Okay,
typically what would happen after this we would have a 30-day reconsideration period and then hold a protest proceeding for
Got it.
people to vote no, but we're asking that you waive that today because we don't anticipate that being necessary.
okay. Thank you.
I just want to say this is a great project. I mean, it's a long time coming. I mean, when I was on staff with LAFCo, we discussed this probably 15 years ago or so. So it's great. I think it's good to get water down there. I do have one question is, we'll approve the annexation, or I'm assuming we're going to approve the annexation. Can the people hook up at any time in the future, or do they have a certain timeline to do it within? I know that's not a LAFCO action, but that's South Feather.
Well, I might suggest if we could, Ms. Loser is here from the water department, and she basically has orchestrated this entire process. We're just at the end of it doing our part, but if you would like to come up and speak, and she can answer your question at the same time.
Morning.
All right, good morning. Tammy Loser, Butte County Director of Water and Resource Conservation. So to answer Steve's question, what we'll do is construct, it's a project that is now in phases. So phase 1 would be the extension of the existing South Feather system, kind of in the central section of the community. And so we will construct the mains and then the laterals up to a meter box. And then it will be up to the residents to connect from the house to the meter at whenever they would like to. What we're hoping is that the funding will allow us to be able to facilitate that connection from the house to the meter box and be able to kind of construct or connect people as we go along. But we'll see what happens with the funding. And just to kind of, since I'm up here, so there are numerous potential funding sources for this project. Butte County and the Board of Supervisors has allocated $3 million from the ARPA funding, the American Rescue Plan Act, for this project. The project has also received $500,000 from the IRWM Prop 1 funding. So we'll be using that. We've also applied for $11.4 million with the state revolving loan fund program that would have forgiveness, so we wouldn't have to pay that back. And then we have also applied for DWR small community drought relief funding. So in case we don't get the full funding from SRF, hopefully we'll be able to get some of that funding. And then we've also been put on the list for some federal EPA Community Fund program at the federal level for $2.2 million. So hopefully we might even have more money than we need, but and we'll be able to shift things around to hopefully be able to connect the homes to the meter boxes, so residents won't have to, given that it is a disadvantaged community. And I will say, I think this project's 40 years in the making, because one of the first reports that I've seen was from like 1984, and when they were talking about sewering the community.
Yeah,
So
they ran the board members off that were proposing
yeah.
it. Changed the board of supervisors over it. Yeah,
So any other questions?
I think that's great.
Thank you.
I think to recap it, we're trying to get it to the door for free or to the house for free. That's what we're trying to do, and it looks like we will. And what happened is 16 years ago, we had public meetings about bringing a sewer there, and it's never, ever worked out. And then South Feather and a group of people made this suggestion. So I'm really happy it's finally come to fruition. It's been a long time coming. Any electronic comment on this matter? Any comments by the board? I'll open public comment. Anyone from the public like to speak? Come on up. Good morning.
Resident of Palermo for 25 years, and I guess that they're not putting water across Upper Palermo Road, which I live. I live on the other side of the east side. So I would like to find out if you are.
That's why we should have had the map up.
Upper Palermo.
She's one parcel in. Are you south of Messina or north of Messina?
South.
So if you're south of Messina and you're on the parcels immediately abutting Upper Palermo Road on the
Yes.
east side, those are in.
Those are in?
We
Oh,
could have had a
okay.
bigger map. Let me just show you real quick.
Why don't you give her a map? There you go.
There you go. This is so you are, I'm gonna turn it this way. You're right here, correct?
Yeah, correct.
So you're inside the line.
Oh,
So you
okay.
will be included.
Okay,
Okay,
thank you.
keep that map.
Yeah, thank you.
I had several.
That was easy.
Yeah, and several calls about Railroad Avenue, but it's included, so I can talk to them later today. They have dry wells right now, some of them. Any other questions or comments by the public? Well, come on up, sir.
My name is Rick Landers. I was under the impression, probably wrongly, that the hookup would be to the house, and in exchange for that, they would eliminate the well. So if you hooked up and it wasn't to the house, and there was a time span between the hookups, does the well stay in?
The program does include well abatement. If they choose to abate their well now while the program has funding, the program will pay for the well abatement. If they decide to keep their well for irrigation purposes and the money runs out, they will be responsible for their well abatement sometime in the future.
In other words, we're not forcing anybody to
Right.
give up their well,
Right.
and we are trying to come clear to up to your house on every,
Right,
but if
Okay.
we run out of money, the meter will be there.
can't do it. Yep,
Right.
all right,
But if we get all the funding, it looks pretty good, like we're going to get it. But
fair enough.
you know how government works. You don't know till you have it in your hand. Yeah.
On a personal note, I have a duplex out there with a one hookup. Would I want to, that's personal. I guess I'd talk to them whether or not I wanted to put two hookups in there.
I don't know how that would work.
Depend on South Feather's policy with regard, some water agencies require 1 meter per parcel, some allow a split, or they could have a meter. Then you could have 2 separate of you that you have installed on your own to each individual unit, so then they can pay separately. So
Right.
it just depends on South Feather's policy.
Great, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments from the public? Close public comment. Wishes of the board.
Mr. Chair, I move that, gladly move that, the commission adopt option one as recommended by staff.
I second that.
One more time, thank you very much to everybody that was involved. This is a great benefit to a community that's really in need. All the call the roll. Finally, I caught it that time. though.
Commissioner Boland,
Good.
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Kimmelshoe,
Yes.
Commissioner Chair Connolly,
Aye.
Commissioner McGreehan,
Aye.
Commissioner Sharman,
Yes.
Commissioner Betts.
Yes.
Thank you.
I am so happy. Thank you so much.
This is huge.
Wow. Okay, we're gonna move on to the regular agenda, consideration and selection of, oh, we did that. Okay, 4.3, City of Chico Extension of Services, 1721 Chico River Road.
Okay, so this is a request to allow for the city of Chico to extend sanitary sewer service to a parcel located on River Road west of the city of Chico. The parcel's developed with multiple dwellings, with one built over a shared property line, and all dwellings rely on a single septic system. So the extension would allow the city of Chico to extend sewer service through its main on River Road, and allow the property owner to adjust the boundary lines so that the number of dwellings relying on the septic tank is reduced, and place dwellings on individual parcels, which would bring the situation further into compliance with zoning and environmental health regulations. So the parcels removed from the city's jurisdictional boundary by 8 parcels. So annexation is not feasible or desired at this time. So city staff, or I'm sorry, LAFCo staff did approve an emergency extension for this parcel a couple weeks ago. So staff is recommending today that this commission finalize that, find the project exempt from environmental review, and approve the project allowing for the extension of sanitary sewer service outside of the city's boundary. A mouthful.
Questions or comments by the board?
I have,
I have one. Go ahead. Go ahead.
one change or issue, not issue, but on section 2 of the resolution. So that would be section 2, item E, where it says the city of Chico sanitary system has adequate capacity to serve the dwelling on the subject parcel. I think we need an S there for, just so that reflects
Okay.
that there's more than one, more than.
Yes,
there's
I
3
agree.
dwellings there. So that was LAFCO staff and me coming out to.
Dwellings, got it.
Yeah, I've got a question. Is this normal to annex a piece of property for sewer services that's outside the city of city limits of Chico or any other city?
Our policies encourage annexation when the city is extending service to a parcel outside of its boundary. So today's approval is not to annex the parcel, but to allow the city to extend one of its services to that parcel. So they would not receive any other city services, no fire, no police. They would simply be receiving sewer service. And we would typically, and in some cases we do, require them to come back with an annexation application to get the parcel into the city's boundary. In this particular circumstance, it's not feasible, it's not desired. We would have to take in a huge chunk to the west side of the city. And so for this project, we are not requiring that they annex, but the property owner has signed the covenant that if someday they are to annex, they could not protest that annexation.
Is it the plan of this landowner then to further divide this parcel because they have now have sewer system?
They have an application into Butte County Planning Department for a boundary line modification. One of the homes that sits directly over a shared property line. And so they have an application in to move the boundary line to separate the 2 homes. One of them would remain on septic and one of them would receive sewer service.
And if I could add to maybe what your overall intent was on that, if you look at section 3, item B in our requirements, and we do this for every single extension, is it's limited, specifically the language says that there's no additional development on the parcel that alters the existing use. So in other words, they're getting sewer, but that sewer is not getting them any greater advantage on that property. We're saying you have an emergency, we're connecting you now, but for what you have on the property. If you come back later and want to do something more, that sewer was not intended to serve that anything else on that parcel. And they'd have to come back and annex the property and then move forward.
Okay, so does that mean that any of these parcels along River Road could ask to be sewered? That they'd have to
Theoretically.
come through LAFCO to do it,
Yes.
is that right?
Correct.
And it would have to be under an emergency situation. So this particular project did have a septic inspection. The septic tank is cracked, so they could not repair it. River Road is the city's main trunk line. So it did take a little engineering to decide if they could even tap into the trunk line, but it was decided by the city that yes, they could. And so the city may want to consider whether or not they want to let 8 individual parcels tap into their main trunk line. I don't know if they'll want to do that, but they decided yes for this parcel.
I guess for environmental reasons, obviously, the more people we can put on sewer,
The better.
the
Yes.
better. Than let all this go into the groundwater. So yeah, I'm in favor of that. I just had some questions on it. It just seemed unusual that this parcel is removed quite a ways
Mhm.
from the city of Chico. Is this in the sphere? That's my last question. This is in the
Yes.
sphere. So eventually this could possibly be annexed.
Sure.
Probably not in our lifetime.
They're supposed to be 20 years,
Oh, is that right?
except in Orville, it could be
I'm
100.
63, so
How you feeling?
63, I'm, if I make 83, I'll be happy. So thank you.
Mr. Bone, do you have a question?
Mr. Kimmelshu asked a bunch of them, but this just kind of looks like how we got to islands before. Is that true?
So we're not annexing this piece.
Right. I
So just
understand
be
that.
clear. So the islands are really related to the annexation issue. But you're right, we have had parcels over time where these extensions occur and then we eventually annex them in. And believe me, after this final episode of the annexation plan, your staff is not going to allow any of these islands to be formed ever again. We will be much more hard-nosed about that moving forward. But this will not facilitate that annexation necessarily. It may never happen. It may happen in 20 years. But if anything is going to happen on that property that results in further development, it's going to require annexation into the city. And at that point, it will require those intermeeting parcels to be annexed as well. There's no ands, ifs, or buts about it.
Good. Well, that's the biggest thing I saw was in my mind. I'm trying to figure out how islands occurred, and it seemed this is how islands occurred in the past. But it sounds like you're on it where we're not going to let that happen. So thank you.
It's also compounded by the nitrate problem in the area. So when somebody fails their septic, we really too desire to get them on a sewer if we can, if we may. Any electronic correspondence?
No.
Anyone from the public like to speak on this? Is there any questions by the commissioners? I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move approval of annexation.
I second.
And if we
It's
just make sure that change to the resolution on item section 2-E is included.
Yes, I
Absolutely.
agree with
Mr.
that.
Chair, question on the motion. I heard Greg said he wants
Not
to approve the
annexation,
annexation. I
excuse
think he meant
Hookup,
the
hookup.
sewer extension, yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you.
we got that. Thank
Thank
you. You're still
Yeah,
getting a
second.
second. Good
Still
with the
got my head
change.
down.
Yes.
Clerk's got it and everything's straight. Call the roll, please. I did it right.
Commissioner Boland,
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Kimmelshu,
Yes.
Chair Connolly,
Aye.
Commissioner McGrehan,
Aye.
Commissioner Sharman,
Yes.
Commissioner Betts.
Yes.
Okay, brings us public comment. Anyone from the public like to speak on a matter not on the agenda today? We cannot take action, but you're more than welcome. No interest in that? Okay. Come on up. No, you gotta come up here. And you gotta turn the mic on.
We'll turn it on for you.
Now, at the Eagles, you don't have to do that.
No. Anyway, I got in here late and I'm sorry. about the Palermo water thing. I'm sorry. I like I said, I did get in here. Just curiosity. This annexing of the water into Palermo, is that as far as it goes? We are not, if we don't hook up, we don't have to pay anything into this?
No.
That's my concern.
No, we're trying to bring it to the door for free, but right now there's enough to put a meter on your property line and it would sit there until what time you desire to be in it. And we're not requiring destruction of wells, but if you want to get rid of your well, it's a bad well when they hook up. I know you know your neighbors, so let them know that that could happen then, or they can keep their well for ag purposes, and then the destruction of the well will be on them in a future date.
The other thing is, what bothers me is that you're doing something here for Palermo and at 9 o'clock in the morning, when the working class is not able to come and be here. So why was this not done in Palermo, or at least in the evening or afternoon, late afternoon?
This is by state law, and this is our regular meeting time.
Yeah, well, I know, but water, they're whatever. It just bothers me that something that's taking place out there would only involve Oroville. I mean, we're not annexed into anything, are we? I mean, we still have our township, correct?
Nothing like that. This is just concerning the water.
Oh, okay. Yeah, but that bothers me.
We
'Cause
couldn't get sewer
they
there.
start with that. Well, they start with that, and then the next thing you know, they're wanting to take us over, and then we end up paying more taxes. And I know my lifetime, I hope it doesn't happen anyway. Because we like our little independence out there. Not much, but we got it.
Well, we had at least 3 public meetings over the years, and the response was overwhelmingly in support of
Because they've
this.
tried doing the sewer once before.
Well, we
and it
couldn't
was
get to the
refused.
sewer, so we got to the water. So people get off their contaminated wells, and I know very well, you've told me yours is not.
No,
So
mine
you're
checks
not
out.
required to hook up.
Yeah, there's several of them that are very good wells, and they're deep wells.
Okay.
We go down 100+ feet, and our waters are good. So we just don't want to be forced into anything we don't want.
You're not.
Okay. All I need to say.
I remember you, and I remember you telling me this
Yeah.
stuff, so. And I told them if you force them to do away with their wells, they won't do it. Yeah. Any other public comment? I'm gonna close public comment. And next, we're gonna come up, executive officers report.
All right, I'll try to be brief, Mr. Connolly. The first item up is under administration is deals with our contractual services agreement we have with the county. I'm just giving you an update on this. This is a process. Really quickly, we have a existing contractual services agreement with the county that goes back to the year 2000. It's been amended a couple times when we went independent, but what the county's contractual services agreement does for us is provides us certain backbone services that we've always had when we were still embedded in the county. So they would cover things like IS assistance for us, computer help, human resources, access treasurer, auditor, assessor. There's various services that LAFCo must work with the county on a regular basis. We're almost integrated from a data perspective. But the one part of this that has become a problem is the human resources component, and the county has indicated they want to quadruple 400% increase in our cost for human resources, ostensibly with relation to this implementation of Workday. Aside from that issue alone, what troubles me is that when we separated from the county in 2000, knowing that we were all county employees at that time, that there was stipulations in that agreement that said that we were to be continually treated like a county department for all intent and purposes as we move forward, because we're so integrated in so many ways so to come along and suddenly raise our human resources component from $13,000 to $53,000 a year, what we said was, is that what other county departments are paying per employee to access that system? And they're clearly not. County employees on average are paying about $1,200 per employee to that department's budget to offset their human resources costs. Ours is $12,500 per employee. Frankly, I find that to be incredulous. I can't wrap my head around why we're being treated differently. I did have a meeting this past week with the CAO of the county to talk about this. We're going to continue to work on it, but I don't know where it's going to lead. It might lead to a higher number in cost, but I want the commission to understand that there's a long, deep history. Mr. Connolly's probably the only one around long enough. And of course, Mr. Betts lived through it as an employee, but we were promised this transitional process out from the county, but to maintain this connection to the county because we use so many of their services. that is the integral part of the preamble of the agreement, which you don't have in front of you today, I realize, but I just want to let you know that it's become very frustrating for your staff to deal with this. The county has, I don't believe, been as open to the idea of the entire contract and what the purpose was, and they're focusing on one little piece of it where they think they can generate additional revenue to offset costs of human resources, which is their prerogative. But I don't think it's inconsistent with the nature of the agreement that was agreed to by the Board of Supervisors. And as a side note, I know the Board of Supervisors have not even seen this proposal from your staff. And that also troubles me greatly. I'll be very clear with you that their staff level, at a lower staff level, these decisions were made to alter our contract without the knowledge of the Board of Supervisors, who were the contracting entity between LAFCo and the board. I'm going to stop there because we're still working. We may come to a solution that is just fine, but I want to just give you guys a heads up, and certainly the two supervisor members, that this is a real problem. And I believe that frankly, that part of what has come out of Workday, we are now being burdened with some of that initial cost process and the frustration of implementing Workday. I believe strongly that we should be treated like every other department in the county, and whatever their costs are should be our costs for processing our employees as well. There's only 4 of us in total, and soon there will be only 3 of us in total. So I'm really having a hard time with that. So I will probably reach out to you two supervisors at some point, maybe for assistance. I have talked to Bill, suggested I talk to the CAO. I have. And so we're going to work the problem, but I have about 6 months to solve it before the quote unquote, we were told the county is going to drop our human resources. And frankly, I don't think that the county staff has the authority to drop that independently from the contract. I really think it's a Board of Supervisors issue to resolve. Having said that, as there's questions for me, I'll just leave that go for now, and I'll bring you updates as we go along. Under our projects, the City of Chico, this is just good news. They have submitted all 4 of the applications for the islands for the agreement we just approved a few months back. So bravo, we are on our way towards resolving those problems. And mind you, we're going to bring them to you, but they're going to be staggered in implementation. So anyhow, it's good news. They are complying with their agreement.
When do you expect the first one to come before us?
We're hoping that we can bring you at least the first one, perhaps the first 3 in at next month, but at December at the latest. That'll be
okay. And you don't know which one has the first priority.
West Sacramento Avenue is the first priority up. So that'll be this year, which will be its effective date will be 23.
So that's in the 4th district now. And
yes.
So, okay. Well, and there'll be plenty of time for public comment.
Absolutely. We will be sending out public notices, sort of the same process we always use.
Yeah.
So everybody will get a notice. They'll know here. There'll be a notice in the newspaper. They'll be welcome to come here and tell you what they think about it.
Yeah. And we have the opportunity to decline that, but not really. This annexation is going to happen.
3 of the 4 annexations qualify as islands under the law, which means you have to approve them as long as they meet the criteria. So if they don't meet the criteria, you can say no, but if they meet it, you have no choice but to approve it. The 4th one, which is Chico Canyon Road, is a greater than 150 acres. So that one will not be subject to the islands, and there will be a full process. I anticipate there'll be people who adamantly protest in that area. We may end up with a protest proceeding. But
so my answer to constituents that I have in that area are, it's state law. We have no control over the annexation because it's an island.
yes, that's the real simple answer.
Okay.
I can give you a whole lot of other really good answers that are even better about service
Yeah,
efficiencies.
you can have them call me, and I'll just say, we're tired of like providing services inside the city limits and not being compensated as a county taxpayer.
Or that.
So I can be the
I love
heavy.
my colleague.
I'll be the heavy for
Your
you.
phone
Yeah,
to
that's
this
fine. That's okay. Good.
That
You
answer your
need a
question?
heavy over in Orville, let me know.
Okay,
Okay.
we'll switch off, man. Oh, it's really the truth.
No, you answered my question. And of course, then along with that is, okay, then how soon do we get Cal Water and how soon do we get sewer and those kind of things? So those are the questions I'm already starting to field in that very area that you're talking about.
Well, I will offer to you, if you end up having to meet with those folks for some reason, we're happy to be there and
Yeah,
participate.
we are going to have a meeting October 22nd. I think we maybe told you about that. There's going to be a creek cleanup in that area. And
Right, right.
afterwards, we're going to have a meeting in regards to this. And I did mention to Steve, and he volunteered. It was a Saturday. And Steve still.
It's a Saturday?
Yeah. So Steve even volunteered to come on a Saturday. You can even get in the creek if you'd like to with us.
Have you been-
Hopefully we have a big storm before then. So who knows?
Will you be getting in that creek?
You better believe it. Even my wife.
Okay, moving on to the next point, Paradise Irrigation District option study. There's not a ton to add. I have been bringing you this almost consistently for the last couple of years about the process of this. So we are now to the point where the option study was approved and accepted by PID. So at that point, at this point in time, essentially that process is concluded. That study provided a tremendous amount of information to everyone on the ridge, in fact, in terms of a whole lot of the mechanics of how water systems work and what all the projects are. But in the end of the day, it made certain recommendations and prioritizations, which I've provided in your packet. But at the end of the day, PID will make the decisions as to where this goes. The state will not tell them which one of these to choose. We cannot necessarily tell them. My hope is that they will work hand in hand cooperatively with the town as they move forward. I know the town has indicated an interest in doing so. I hope PID continues to show that interest, because as we move forward, you need to know is that PID has started the process of asking us to update their municipal service review as well as their sphere of influence plan. I don't know what those parcels all will be in terms of any additional space they want to add territory. We do know about the Tuscan Ridge project and the potential for PID to help assist with that project. It's out of their district right now. Nonetheless, we will do that MSR SOI update with PID, and it is my hope, and I will hopefully be meeting with Mr. Boland's staff, and we can talk about how the town can be integrated somehow into that process. What we really learned 10 times over through this whole crisis of the fire and everything that came after it is the need to have this intense communication and cooperation between these two entities. And I think there's a desire for that. I'll let Mr. Boland speak for himself, but I'm hoping that the town will be as eager as we are to facilitate those kinds of discussions.
Yeah, the town is wanting those discussions and eager to, and we've been pushing for that, but there's a little hesitancy on PID's part to move forward. So hopefully we can keep communication open and keep talking. So
excellent. That's all I have on that item.
I just want to make a quick comment. I was very disappointed in that the study ranked helping a water supply come down to the city of Chico is way down on their list as far as priorities. I'm sorry to see that, because I believe our water solution is a regional water solution over time. And for them to put it that far down the line, I understand there's a real symbiotic relationship between the town of Paradise and the PID. But I would hope that the folks that did this study would have seen that there's a bigger picture here. A bigger picture is a regional water supply. And because of Sigma, we need to look into all the different avenues to make sure that we have a groundwater supply that is adequate and sustainable. And by using surface water for the residents of Chico would have been a very good thing. So not giving up on that opportunity in the future.
Well, just so you all know, the commission will have an opportunity. So as we update the MSR and the SOI plan for Paradise Irrigation District, that's also an opportunity to revisit all of those things that are in the option study. And I'm absolutely certain that the option study will be key component of the data that goes into this update, where we know that's going to be the case. But to answer kind of more like a side question about the intertie, frankly, when we all started the process of meeting as a stakeholder group, that was a much higher interest. But thankfully, with the largesse of settlement claims and agreements and other funds that have come in the last 6 to 8 months, it caused PID to reconsider those prioritizations, and perhaps the town as well. But the reality is that now the idea that we need an instant return on revenue in terms of selling that water, that is not as pressing as it was when we started the study. In fact, it's to the point now where they've indicated they can maintain operational maintenance in their system completely for the next 20 years on the settlement. That doesn't mean they can fix the dam and all the other things. It's just, I mean, for their day-to-day operations, they have now sufficient funds. That doesn't alleviate the need to continue to look at options. And the one you bring up, it needs to be talked out at a regional basis. That may be the solution, it may not, but that's why it dropped. Commissioner Kimmelshue is that money became available, made that less desirable.
If I may, I'd like to
Agreed.
compliment.
I understand the situation, but like you said, there's some real infrastructure issues in the dam that needs to be done.
Right.
This is an old system and it needs to be repaired and updated. I think it's a wonderful system, don't get me wrong, but we all know about dams and spillways and things like that. They need to be updated periodically or there could be failure.
Agreed.
Mr. Chair, can I ask staff a question?
Yes, of course.
Steve, thank you for expanding on those comments earlier about this situation. One thing was disconcerting to me, and you aptly put it in your staff report on this subject, is that the ranking system and the evaluation criteria as weighting factors were subjective. They were not objective at all. And that really troubled me. And regardless of, an infusion of money in the situation, I still think, and I look forward to our doing the MSR, hopefully in the not too distant future for PID as possibly as well as the town.
Just on a timing, we are literally at the beginning stages with PID to describe how we're going to do the MSRSO update. They have selected a consultant. We're in agreement with that. So it is literally underway. But what I really want to do now is be at this initial stage, as Mr. Bolin indicated, town will be willing to do, is I really think it's important for the town and PID to sit down and with LAFCo staff present to talk about the interaction, the interconnections. They're
Right.
going to go do their thing and the town's going to do its thing, but there's no reason why this can't be done regularly with regular communication. And I think that's where we as LAFCO staff can help. We can get in the middle of that and kind of be the street cop, if you will, about how that moves forward. We
Right.
can't tell either one what to do, but we can certainly encourage. And at the end of the day, as you all know, whether the town wants to grow or PID wants to grow, it's got to come through your commission, which gives us and your staff some great weight in our comments we make at these earlier meetings. So I will keep you advised. And Mr. McGrahan, if you'd be so kind, I'd like to reach out for your assistance since you live up on the ridge as well.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Would you be willing to do that? Work with us on
Well,
that?
depends on the rest of the commissioners, whether or not they see a conflict for me or not. I don't know.
I don't, I think that I'd like PID in the city or town of Paradise to be in charge of their own destiny. But I weigh that against future temptation to sell water
Right.
out of the area.
Right.
And so delivery within the county should be some sort of priority, but I believe that governance should be local. And I would always give them the choice as a commissioner to even make a bad choice, maybe is what I'm trying to say. But it does weigh on my mind that if we could keep our water within our county and we could grow within our county, that would be much better than some sort of sale of part of the water rights or delivery of water into the lake or anything
Right.
weird. I know that's not on the table right now, but
Right.
it kind of worries me in the future because like this drought's pointing out, there's more and more pressure from the desert of California to obtain more of our water. So those are my thoughts. Priority with the city and the self-destination between the city and the water district, but please, if we can keep it within the county, let's try to.
Mhm.
That's my thought. But I have no trouble if nobody else does with Al taking part in this. Would Town of Paradise good with it? If Al comes to your meeting?
Yeah, no, I'm good. Again, we're gonna flush all this out.
Right.
No pun intended. Maybe it is. There's a lot to look at and with the dam being downsized and everything, I mean, that just really took our numbers down as far as the ability to do anything outside of Paradise. So if that was able to be changed, and I've talked to our congressman about that, if that was able to be raised and things were able to be put back to where they were before or even better, then there might be the discussion. But until that happens, we don't have water, we don't have town. We just saw it with Palermo. I mean, we got to have water. So we got to be very careful that we got. If there's interest in participation of something happening, and I think everybody be interested in that. But anyway.
If there's no more questions, I'll move on. The El Modelo Fire Protection District, seems like we've been talking about that for the last 40 years. But really, it's been like maybe the last 3. The upshot of the whole thing is, and I've said this to you, and it's really hard, and Mr. Connolly and I have talked about it, it's frustrating, but the district is incrementally moving closer and closer to adopting a resolution to dissolve. I have spoken with the auditor's office about some certain things that are going on in terms of liquidation of assets, but the overall indication I've been given from the chairman of their board, Dan Tiedemann, is that they intend to adopt a resolution to dissolve at their meeting in September. So that's in a couple of weeks, I'm thinking somewhere. Usually it's in the middle of this of the month. I will attend that meeting and push hard if they do not do it. But at the end of the day, we're to the point where honestly, if they do not take action in September, I will seriously consider asking the commission to initiate, or the city of Oroville to initiate, a dissolution. Preferably the city of Oroville would be the better actor right now, because the law is not in effect to give us that legal standing. But something has to, this needs to end. I know that's not the most bureaucratic way to say it, but it needs to end, and we may need to facilitate that beyond what we've been doing.
Well, talking to a couple department heads, they're not going to collect the fee as of January 1. So their extra funding goes away.
Right.
And they're not going to give them any funding. So the writing's on the wall.
I will commit to you this, the law in general is in our favor, and we will make this happen. It will happen. It's just how it happens and how much effort we as a commission have to take versus the district acting on its own. So I will continue to update you, but hopefully when I'm sitting here next month, I will tell you some better news.
The people
Mr.
of that
Chair,
district have fire protection right now
Absolutely.
correctly.
Between
Okay.
the city of Oroville and CAL FIRE, they're
Okay.
completely covered.
Thank you.
Al, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but I have to ask to be excused. I know we have more than a quorum here, but my district is hosting 2 state boards that are coming up and touring our district this morning, and I'm the chair of our board, so I've got to hustle over there and start that off at 10 o'clock. So if I may, can I be adjourned at this point?
We'll see you later.
Thank you very much. Great work, everyone.
Did William Sharman have a question? I thought
I don't see a hand.
No question.
all right, thank you.
Moving on, just real quickly on the County of Butte updates, just letting you know the general plan for the county is starting to update process. We will just be a part of that as we go forward, offering comments and assistance as they ask. It's just really an FYI. There's nothing to act on right now. North Chico specific plan, that has moved forward, but I'm understanding that project may not come to fruition for a whole variety of reasons, but there's not a lot of public support for some of the components of that process. And we, of course, have said anything that goes on up in that area eventually is going to need to be annexed to the city of Chico. And I can tell you right now that city of Chico has no particular interest in moving in that direction right now. So that's neither here nor there, but it is, and I'll keep you apprised if something changes. It's not a huge issue for us at the moment. Tuscan Ridge Plan Development, the project, as far as I know, remains in incomplete status. It's still difficult to get good, concise information about that project off the county's track-it system. But nonetheless, I keep myself dialed into every possible source of information, but there's nothing to take on action on that right now either. Town of Paradise, City of Chico sewer line, a lot of progress being made. The EIR comments period closed Wednesday, I believe, or Tuesday of this week on the EIR prepared for that sewer line extension. And the city and the town are getting really close to adopting an agreement as to how that's all to function. I don't know if Mr. Bullen, are you on that? You're not on that subcommittee, no, but as far as I know, that's all been cordial and it's being worked through the mechanics behind the scene of how that'll work. That's absolutely essential that the town and the city are completely in agreement on everything. So that's fine. That'll come along with that project when it comes to us. But right now we're in the waiting phase for that EIR to be concluded and then for the city and the town to take action at some point. I can't tell you when exactly that it will be, but I imagine it'll be sometime before the end of the year. I don't know if you have any more you can add to that.
No, I just know that that's over with. They're taking the comments and addressing those, and And it's moving quickly, and Chico's been a great partner in this. So
So
Yeah.
again, just for the reminder, our role in this is not whether that's good or bad for either town. We're just making sure that it's done according to the law and that it's a service extension that's approved by LAFCo. And any conditions that everyone feels are important on that line, such as a no connection between the two towns. That's the kind of stuff that's going to come in front of the commission, not the nuts and bolts of the project per se. That's not our purview, but the policy and the mechanics of how it gets built, that will be part of our process. So probably sometime, I would think, sometime next year, mid next year, spring, hopefully we might get an application from the city and the town to do that.
Yeah, and I attended, they've had a couple of listening sessions in Chico. I attended those. Not very well attended.
No, I
Believe it
was
or not,
at
I
one of
was,
those.
yeah, I was very surprised. So I don't know what kind of opposition there is. I'm sure there will be some opposition, but I found that interesting.
Shannon did participate in the Paradise one. I went to the Chico one, and her indication was the Paradise one was a lot more robust
Mhm.
than the Chico one. Surprise, surprise, right? Nonetheless, we'll keep you appraised as it goes forward. At this point, we're just waiting for other agencies to complete their process.
Yeah, I think the major objection I heard were the line will bypass Chico to the south and will head through much of the 4th district, which I represent. And so the people in the 4th district wondered about their roads. Are they gonna be torn up? And, can they hook in? And, those kind of questions. But yeah, that's the only objections I saw so far. And they weren't objections, they were more just concerns.
Okay. Two more things that I did not put in here that I'm going to add right now, just to give you a verbal update. One is we met with, Shannon and I met with the Upper Ridge Coordinating Council yesterday. Talked about the plan that the county put together, the Upper Ridge Community Plan. Wanted to get some feedback from them because for years now, and this probably goes back 10, 15 years for certain, the Upper Ridge has always been advocating for more independence. And now if you look at the numbers, their population actually exceeds the town's population. Not always going to be that way, obviously. But there's a very clear, and I don't mean to step on anybody's toes, and certainly not Mr. Boland's, but there really has never been much interest on the town to move up the ridge, and there's never been any interest in the ridge of the town moving to them. There's a clear separation in philosophy about how they view their governance. And so these folks, now they have this plan, are really looking forward to having some greater sense of independence. And one of those options would be looking at a community services district where they could fund their own services there in the Magalia core area. That's the part of this county's plan. But give them more hands-on ability to affect changes within Magalia. They would not have, for instance, land use control or police power, but for all the other things related to ongoing services, it would give them a local community voice that could potentially provide services and support fee increases for those services, rather than that being either coming from the county down or from the town up the ridge further. There's a real strong sense there that they want to have their own independent control of some sort. So I don't know where that's all going to go, but our job is to simply tell people what all the options are, how they work, and what it might look like. They recognize that that would be a huge project undertake. They would have to come up with funding for it and so forth. So this is all just spitballing right now. I don't want you to think this is anything's been signed in stone here or anything. It's just, these are their concerns. It's the concerns we've been hearing for years. And I think we have a role to play in helping resolve some of those concerns.
And what are their biggest concerns? I mean,
Well, I think a lot of it is they want to have more local control over or how the design of Magalia works. They want to have more control over of the community facilities. The CSD could potentially own facilities. Sadly, and Mr. McGreehan's off the call now, unfortunately, but they have some serious disagreements with PRPD, the Paradise Recreation Park District, about how park services are provided in the Magalia area and the interconnection, and they're feeling that there's not been a great amount of communication and cooperation. So the general gist of it is that they just feel like they've been asked to participate, but maybe that their comments are not really considered in the big picture when it comes to making the decision. So that's really it. And there's
So that's with the county mostly, correct?
Yeah, oh, correct, yeah, yeah, there's no discussion up there, no one brings up the idea of they're ever gonna have a connection with the town.
Right, right.
At least not as long as the dam is what it is and the potential separation there and
Right.
all that, so
Right.
anyhow, it's just keeping you informed, that's all. This may go nowhere, this may go somewhere.
Well, what Berry Creek did might be a model for them. They morphed off to they had a community association, and then they kind of fire safe council started, and I got the community association a lot more active. Then they came to the county and asked to be recognized as a quasi government agency, and that's where you start.
Yeah, well, so the woman who's, I don't know what her specific title is, Donna Yutzi is her name. She's been up on the ridge for a long time, did a lot of masterful work during the campfire to bring food resources up to the upper ridge when they couldn't get, they had to go all the way. Anyhow, it's a long story, but she did tell us that she reached out to Berry Creek to ask them how
And
things.
so from that, during the input, during the general plan update, they eliminated a lot of different types of growth inducing, which is fine because that's local governance. But I think that's where they should start before they start trying to tax each other and do all that.
So it's, as always, it's a process of connecting dots and encouraging communication, and that's what we'll try to do. Switching to a different subject, one that will bring Mr. Kimmelshoe to the limelight here is that we have a project in Greeley that we've been working on. It's a subdivision. It's going to be an annexation. It involves the issue of ag buffering. We've had a couple meetings now. Long and short of it is that and I'm trying to think, Mr. Betts and Mr. Connolly were here for sure when we did the area of concern between Biggs and Gridley. That's about 3,000
Thought
acres
they're going to shoot at each other one
of land. And
yeah, I remember.
so the general concept of that is that instead of them just willy-nilly going in whatever direction they
build out
wanted to,
between,
based on
yeah.
some landowner's interest in developing their property, we coordinated at the time with the Farm Bureau, who at the time, Mr. Kimmelshoe was the land use chair, I believe. So we worked really closely and we came up with the idea that Biggs would grow south, Ridley would grow north between Back Biggs Road and Mead Road, just east of Highway 99. And that would be their building envelope, if you will, enough for them to build for the next 50, 75 years in theory. And the goal was to start having them work together to develop common infrastructure, things that would save money and make this a better plan. So where this comes back to ag buffering is, this is, and believe me, there was a long discussion, and where do we put the buffer? Do we put it on against every ag piece of property as it develops? That would be what the county was buffering would do if it was a county jurisdictional project. But the reality is, as you move forward and you put a buffer here, and then you have another subdivision, you end up with these buffers that become useless. Now, if they're integrated into an overall like trail plan or something where they become useful later, that's one thing. But generally what we really need is we need to build more rooftops. And so we don't want to lose those strips. Those strips could be, maybe small, 8, 10, 12 homes, but 8, 10, 12 homes will make a difference. So what we're talking now is do we just say within that area of concern, I'm sorry, I don't have maps. This has all just happened so quickly that I just wanted to give you an update. Do we just put the buffer around the outside? Say, we're going to worry about the permanent agricultural buffering against the large agricultural holdings, but between the two communities where there's still ongoing ag and it's zoned ag 40, the reality is, and Mr. Kimmelshoe could probably relate to this, several of those landowners, one or at least one is already actively moving, and several others are obviously, they see the writing on the wall that this is the potential growth area. So what we'd like to do is work out a plan with the county, Biggs, Gridley, Farm Bureau, and LAFCo, that where's that buffer going to go so that we can just put one 300-foot buffer in one place, and that's where it stays. And it can then be integrated into a trail system or something between the two communities, could be used for detention basins. There's a lot of ways a buffer could be integrated and not be wasted, if you will. So no decisions have been made. We did resolve the issue with the Gridley subdivision for now. So we're going to bring that one back to you probably next month. So you'll get a little more discussion about it then, but we at least we got past that particular problem. I don't know if you want to add anything more, Mr. Kimmelshoe, but he's been in.
No, just I want to thank you, and I know Bruce wants to thank you as well for coming out to the meeting that we had, and your guys' knowledge is excellent on this issue. And so there was a little excitement by some of the applicants. But I'm glad to see the theory that you have, and I think it's a good theory to move forward with that. And so thank you again for that. You and Shannon both for attending that meeting and working through this issue. And not only that, there's always kind of been a little bit of I don't want to say animosity, but little, there's not so much agreement between the town of Biggs, or city of Biggs, city of Gridley. I think there is now, thanks to leadership from people like Bruce and Bo Shepherd, who used to sit on this board. I think that, and you're going to also participate in some meetings to bring those two communities together so we can work together on this growth in between the two. Thank you.
So that's where I'm headed. So unless anybody has any objections to me doing that, I'm going to continue on that process.
Yeah, and I'd like to say that, be thankful that we're now working on a solution. We had to put out a few fires from years ago. I first got involved in politics when that fight was going on between Biggs and Gridley. So one of the things that I just couldn't understand that. So yes, in the last 8 years, that has pretty much gone away. So we're working together, and there's some we can actually work together and maybe use some of their facilities and stuff. So, I see the bigger picture over the next 20-25 years. So,
there's a real opportunity
Oh,
here
yeah.
for the county as a whole to recognize a new urban area. And it's not inconceivable, given the services that both communities can offer and bring to the table, that area between the two could result in, 1,000 or more
easily.
rooftops.
Sure.
This is a huge possibility and a big help to the county meeting all of its various housing goals. Because you can't just ask Chico to take it all, or Orville, and Biggs and Gridley are now stepping up, and they might be able to take an outside share and relieve the county of some of that burden as well. So there's a lot of things here that are positive.
Yeah, and just one other thing, I also want to thank, and I've thanked her, as Paula Daniluk from Department of Development Services. She's on board with this too and has the same vision. So I think for once, it sounds like we're all on board. I'm sure that we can get the Farm Bureau on board as well. Thank you.
We will be meeting with Colleen next week as well.
Okay,
Yeah.
let me know.
That's what what if you're a farmer though, and you're in there and you want to continue farming, and I don't see it. It's not going to be monolithic. You're going to have to come up with some compromise.
Agreed. We know it's not going to be easy.
Yeah, because if you got active ag and you're going to build a subdivision, that's why we put the buffer in, so you could still crop dust and make dust and weed,
Right. Now, you'd be happy to know we had a lot of good ideas about how we might be able to address that issue. So I'll bring more back as we have
unless
those meetings.
everybody in there agreed that we'd do away with the ag buffer and then they were in an urban zoning of some sort, then I'd be fully supportive of it, but I have to see the details
Fair
because
enough.
I lived through this.
Well, we will move towards details from this point forward, and we will certainly, as staff, keep Mr. Kimmelshoe as his district involved in all
Yeah,
of
it's
this.
your district, but it'll kick cops problems in my district.
It's hard.
And that's a good thing.
Yeah, it is.
Moving on, LAFCo news. We have our annual LAFCo conference, October 19th through 21st. First one we've had now in 3 years, thanks to the pandemic. The good news here and the big news is that unless Bill does something very crazy between now and then, he will be next in line to be chair of LAFCO at the statewide level. It's a rotational basis, and so Bill's up next. So in October, he takes that chair. So that's huge. LAFCO, this is as far as Butte LAFCO is concerned. This is as far as up the chain of you can go, and we're here. So your little rural LAFCO is at the table with all the LAs and Oranges and San Franciscos. That's great.
So the 22nd, what time are we coming back that day?
We come back on the whatever that Friday is.
Oh, good.
21st.
The 21st. Okay. So I got-
Second of what?
October.
Yeah, I gotta.
That's the date you're going to be with me at the creek cleanup.
Exactly.
I'm going to the black and white.
If you
ball,
can make
so I
it,
know.
Shannon. No.
You really want Shannon to go.
Yeah, right. But there's a black and white ball. You going to wear a black tie?
I have a text, man.
Can we get pictures?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
You're on his Facebook page, right?
Yeah, that's true. Congratulations, Bill.
No, it is. It's
Very, very proud of you.
well, and I think, Mr. You know, you can elaborate on this, Bill, but the reality is that between Mr. Connolly and years before him we had Larry Duncan was on Cal LAFCo, and I can't seem to get rid of Cal LAFCo. I'm constantly being reappointed, but that's good, because what it is Bill can tell you, is Butte LAFCO has really elevated up in the state. Out of 58 LAFCOs, you know, we are absolutely in the top 10, not just in what we do, but in the influence that we can bring to the table at the state level. And between Bill and I think we've made great relationships with folks from LA and in Southern California, and we've managed to help each other with issues. So it's really a good thing for the county.
And a lot of our time is spent with new legislators, or even older legislators that are somewhat anti-LAFCO or naive about LAFCO, trying to circumvent the process and provide water out of district or park districts out of. You hear some of the craziest things. One time, you know, fixes that really don't lend itself to good growth. And my dream is to get to where we do the MSRs. And if we see a glaring example of consolidation or dissolution, we can go to the people and hold an election. That would be a major change in LAFCO law, but it makes so much sense for a community that, say, has like 3 water districts or 4 sewer districts. I don't know where that is. It might be sitting here, but you know, I'd like to see that. And that was like a 5-year push, you know, to get that change.
You can do it.
That's all I have to share with you all. And thank you for coming today. And if you have any more questions for me or any direction you want to provide me.
Oh, it's good to see Scott Brown. How you doing?
Very well.
You know, when you don't say anything, you always look smart.
Hey, yeah,
Okay, but that stated. Adjourned to Thursday, October 6th, 2022, right here. All right, good job, everybody.